I need that separation. I need to get dressed in real clothes every day and put on lipstick and do my hair and leave my house and come home. And that has really helped balance for sure. And I think that will continue to help. Yeah. It helps me focus too when I'm going to the office. It's a workplace, so I'm not sitting there.
Work or life? The eternal question. As sisterMAG literally has become our life, we want to talk to others about their so-called work-life balance. We are Tony and Thea from the online magazine sisterMAG.
Careers of the now. We want to know how people have become where they are now. Not only their second life after a boring job.
Or the lucky shot that made someone famous.
We talk to people who are happy about their standing in life and the way that led to it.
Careers of the now is a state of mind, because it can mean that you actually do not have a career in its traditional sense at all.
Listen to sisterMAG radio podcast to be inspired and to get down to work.
For sisterMAG radio podcast episode 48, we have a special treat. Thea and I together interview our dear friend Ashley Ludaescher. Only on a short trip to Europe for one of her wedding projects, she found the time to stop by the sisterMAG office and talk to us about her personal journey from California to Paris to Germany and back to California. And her professional development as one of the few formally trained photographers in the wedding industry, where she definitely made her mark as photographer of visually outstanding storytelling weddings. We also made one or the other walk down sisterMAG memory lane, reminiscencing some of the crazy and exciting shoots we did together in the first few years of the magazine, and exchanged notes on how Ashley keeps mentally and physically healthy with her busy life as wedding photographer across the globe. But before we start with the interview, we wanted to talk a bit about what's going on in the sisterMAG office.
Hi Tony, this is Thea, and we are really happy because last week on Monday, or this week
we pushed a new issue live.
And it's number 48, so we are very close to number 50, and 48 is a real gem, I would say. It's titled The Girl with the Pearl Earring. I think you all now know the painting because it's a worldwide famous painting, and we did a whole issue about this painting, inspired food by it. We have a feature by Backbube, Markus Hummel, who was inspired by the colors of Vermeer's painting, and we did a fashion shooting in Thuringia in a really beautiful house from our friend and contributor Robert Eberhard, and it's just a beautiful issue, and I really loved working on the layouts, working on putting it together, the sections. It's really beautiful,
and I feel it's like a whole, it really interprets the painting in a very modern way in a sense, and also taking up like the earrings, so we have something about jewelry together with the partner Thomas Sabo, but also with a lot of the trend stuff that is going on in the jewelry.
What you should buy in 2019 without being broke afterwards, but what are just fashionable pieces that you can buy on the high street and that you will love in 2019.
So definitely have a look into the new issue. We will link it in the podcast notes again. And now let's dive into our talk with Ashley. If you want to see more of her beautiful work as wedding photographer, have a look into our podcast notes for all the links to her website, Instagram, and also some old collaborations for sisterMAG. So hello and welcome to a new episode of sisterMAG Radio Podcast. Today is a very, very, very special episode because it's not only me doing the questioning, but it's also Thea with me the whole time. And we interview one of our longest, most dearest friends.
Exactly, and that's why we said it actually has to be both of us here in the studio together with Ashley Ludaescher. And she's actually here in Berlin with us, a thing that rarely happens now. Yeah. But Ashley lived in Berlin for a really long time, and we met just after we published the very first issue of sisterMAG, and she became one of our best friends. She has done tons of our sisterMAG covers. She did tons of road trips and everything with us, but she will tell you herself a little bit about that later. And so we are really happy to have you in the sisterMAG podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored I get both of you.
Yeah. So, and we start as we always do and ask you, tell us who you are and what you do. First of all, quick and dirty.
Well, first and foremost, I'm sorry, I have a cold. My name is Ashley Ludaescher, as you said. I'm a wedding photographer mostly, a photographer by trade, and I now mostly do weddings. I live in California now, but I did live in Europe for...
A long time.
Yeah, like all-inclusive, almost 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
Long time.
yeah, I really miss Berlin. And I miss you guys.
We too. I just said to Alex, I need to plan a California trip now. ASAP.
Yeah, I think sisterMAG needs a California issue.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I think it should be released in February maybe, where everyone here is like really
Frozen.
depressed with the winter, so we
a
can
good
make them
idea.
jealous with our California sunshine. But regardless of when it comes out, you guys just really need to come. I'll show you around.
So listeners, you heard it first. We need to go to California soon. But
Slow clap for that.
let's dive first into how we met. I mean, I know I'm kind of to blame for that. Because I had this phase of doing blog research and searching for people who live in Germany who are not from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I stumbled upon your blog. And I said to my sister, I love this blog. I want to meet her.
So tell us a little bit more about your blogging phase in life.
Oh my gosh. I just took my blog off of the internet, and it was really sad because it was such a part of my life for so long, and it also brought me some of my best friends, including you guys. So I'm really thankful for that, and also Twitter, and at that time Instagram was not even out, I think, or really new.
Or tiny. Yeah,
I think
not
I
really
started
existing.
using Instagram in 2010 or 2011, whenever it came out. I remember my first photo. It's with a Nashville filter or something. So I was riding my bike and I thought it was so cool. But yeah, we met in the beginning of sisterMAG, right after. I think we actually spoke before the first issue came out on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I had seen you guys did that workshop with Bree.
Yeah. So Design Love Fest, also a big blogger from the US. She actually came over and also one of our big idols in the blogging market. And so I was interning for her and did the workshop with her. And then Tony told me about these other blogs, and Ashley, as an American living, where did you live back then?
In Offenburg.
Yes, so in
the Black Forest.
And your blog was called
Chasing Heartbeats.
Oh. And you did a lot of
travel, lifestyle stuff. For me, I am a trained photographer, and I graduated from college in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
You can do the math of how old I am now. So I had worked as a photographer, and then I moved to Germany, and I was still working as a photographer, but I was doing product photography and stuff that didn't really fuel me creatively. So I needed a reason or an outlet to kind of take photos on our day-to-day. And at that point, Andreas and I both worked full-time, and so we traveled quite a bit on the weekends, and I don't know, I wanted an excuse to go around and take photos of Strasbourg or wherever we went. And then, but I'm not a typical blogger. I hate having my photo taken. So, I mean, we posted photos of us, but it was more travel and just kind of lifestyle things. And I got married during that time too. So it was kind of wedding planning, and I don't know. It was a mixture of things.
This. It was more like a diary. It was less like a selfie thing.
Yeah.
It was more chronicling what people did. And I liked it. Yeah.
So I remember, we were about to move to Berlin. We had gotten married, and we were moving to Berlin, and I was super excited. And I saw Bree had done this workshop, and she tagged you, I think, on Twitter or something. Mm-hmm. And so then I followed you, and you immediately wrote me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know anyone in Berlin. We were just moving here, and we instantly made a connection, and I don't really remember how it started. I think
because actually the backstory of that was that Tony was following you for a really long time already on your blog, and
stalker.
Exactly, and then you followed us, and then was like, oh my god, this American blogger just followed us, and but then back then Tony was quite shy, and I was the one who had to meet people. And so Tony made me write you an email and be like, oh, let's have a coffee date. That was still a thing back then. Usually now it's you kind of follow each other for ages on Instagram before you meet, and back then it was follow, meet for coffee. It was the instant next thing. And so it was at a very interesting time for me back then. Because you can tell that better, probably.
Am I allowed to tell that?
Yes, of course.
So it was February, I guess, right? We just figured this out. And I had been in Berlin for a couple months, and you had just released the first issue, which was amazing, and I remember I really enjoyed it. And we had sat and talked for a little bit, but it was the first time we had ever really spoken, and Taya said, I don't really know what to do. I got this offer to move to New York, and it was a Fulbright scholarship, right? Which is a really big deal. Or do you think I should stay and stay with sisterMAG? And I was like, nice to meet you. This is a really big question. You're asking me to make your life decisions for you. But I had seen your potential and also how creative you are and how passionate you were about this project and the idea of being able to work with your sister on something. I mean, back then, and I was telling you guys this earlier, I can't even, like, we could not have imagined what you've created now. And it was like beyond your wildest dreams. And at that point, you know, the first shoots we did for sisterMAG were like a little scrappy and, you know, they were always amazing. But you guys from the very beginning really valued your contributors.
That's something that we kind of learned through all of you guys because you said from the beginning. Yeah, and you came and you kind of taught us all you had to teach us, because we were basically starting from point zero. Like, I had never done a shoot, and then I had kind of you and Chris, my other best friend and a photographer, and you basically just took me and taught me everything I know now, and that's why. I mean, we're still so happy about the love and the sisterMAG family, what we like to call it.
But I think valuing the work that people produce for you is really important, because there's so many magazines out there that would be at that time, especially there were so many digital magazines, and I had done work for other ones that were like, we'll credit you, thanks so much, and it was, you know, that's not a value of your time. And
you can't make a constant living out of it.
No, and also like, how is that sustainable? You know, and they had advertisers, it just anything.
And so when you you went to Berlin, so you moved to Berlin, and you also started here as a wedding photographer to build your portfolio and to do that. How did you get started? How did you get clients?
Here?
Yeah.
Our first wedding, so I don't know. To be honest, the internet is an amazing place. I made some really good connections in the very beginning. Lena Schleweis and Harriet from Botanic Art, and they were two of my earliest friends here in the wedding industry, and we kind of just joined forces and were able to create a team. A team with a similar vision. And I think being an American here really helped too, because I had something different to offer and I had a different perspective of weddings than like the traditional. I'm doing hand quotes, but like the traditional kind of wedding photography that was standard. And 2011 in the US was like pretty progressive, but here it was still kind of, there was still a lot of old school photographers out there, while there was quite a few of good photographers. I don't know, it was really organic, and now looking back, I'm like, how in the world did I, how do you do that without really trying? I mean, I was obviously trying, that came off wrong, but like, it just really organically happened for me. In my first couple years, I shot, I think, 25 weddings, and that's a lot, so it worked out really well, and I was able to find wedding planners and florists and other people to work with that I really jived with, and we got along, and we had a similar vision, so our clients...
And then it helped kind of also to get you up the ground all together.
And we got to collaborate on some really fun photo shoots, which was really fun. But in the beginning, it took me about, in the beginning I was trying to do editorial stuff, and I had other clients. I worked with you guys a lot, and then after a year or two, I just didn't really have that much time. So we kept working together, but I kind of had to drop anything else I was trying to work on. And I probably stopped blogging around that point too, just because I got really busy, and weddings kind of took over. But I love weddings, and I still do some other photography here and there, but I really love my job, and I feel really, really lucky that I get to do it. So that sounds really cheesy.
No, but it's good. I mean, you often hear people say, yeah, I do that, but I would love to do this, and it's good to have people who actually really like what they do.
Yeah.
But how did you get into weddings? Like, was that your plan from studying photography?
No,
or?
Absolutely not. So when I went to photography school in Santa Barbara Brooks Institute of Photography, And when I was in school, I wanted to be a fashion photographer. And I took fashion classes, which at that time they shot medium format film.
Okay.
Which it's all kind of circled back because now that's my format of choice. So I had a medium format film camera and I shot film. And after I graduated from school, I went to Paris for a year and I interned with fashion photographers. And maybe it was the people I worked for, but I saw how ugly that industry can be. And the photographers that I worked for, without giving any clues of who they are, it was a team and a husband and wife. And she was just a monster to the models, and it was horrible. And just watching her call them fat, and these girls were models in Paris. There's no way they were fat. It just made me really disgusted. And something that the work that I wanted to do was make people feel beautiful and good, and it didn't really matter your size or shape or anything, that was irrelevant to me. What I wanted to do was make people feel beautiful. And I actually just found my college mission statement, and that was part of it, was to make, especially women, I have, my work is pretty feminine and romantic, and I want to make people feel good, and so I want their photos to look
make
beautiful.
them uplift.
And not to bring people down. And so that kind of really turned me off to fashion. So I worked with a celebrity photographer in Paris, which was really interesting, and I came back to California and kind of changed, but weddings were really never my goal, because at that time in the 2000s, weddings were horrible. Wedding photography was so bad, and I shot my first wedding in 2008, I think, 2007. And those photos are they're not bad for my first wedding. And actually, as a photographer, I got paid really well for that first job because I had experience. And my client valued me, but most people shoot their first wedding for free. Mine was a portrait client that was like, I'm getting married and you're photographing it. And I was like, oh, okay. I was also really bad at business, so I never invoiced him. He just gave me money, which now it's not the case because I married a German accountant.
I think you joined very well your forces.
Thank you, Andreas, for saving me. But yeah, so anyway, that was really rambly, but after my own wedding, I realized how great wedding photography can be and how much we loved our photos. And I wanted to be able to make people feel that same way. And given when I was kind of looking at the market here, it seemed like there was a space for someone offering something a little bit different. I mean, at that time, there was still a lot of great photographers, absolutely. But I wanted to bring a little bit of that American style. So that was kind of how I ended up in it. It was not super intentional. I thought it was going to be a side hustle. I really did. And then all of a sudden
and then it took over.
It absolutely did. And I'm very thankful for that.
But how would you describe your style? When you say the American way, how would you describe it?
Well, it's definitely evolved over the years. But now I shoot mostly film, medium format color film, which has a certain look to it, an aesthetic. It's my style, at least, is light and bright and airy and romantic. I'm really drawn to certain color palettes, so I try to keep things cohesive, and I really try to think about, especially at a wedding, we get the mood board ahead of time, so I try to keep the color palette cohesive, and find locations that blend with that. So that's really important to me. But talking about my own work is so hard. I hate it. But yeah, I would say my style is feminine and romantic and creative and a little bit modern, but a classic but modern at the same time. I'm actually working on branding right now, so those may or may not be my words. But I'm trying to push things a little bit, and a lot of that is brought on by personal work too, and adding creativity into your wedding, because you're working for a client and you need to give them classically beautiful photos, but you can also have fun with it too.
Yeah. And how much time does it take you to prepare for a wedding?
Well, our clients book us sometimes a year in advance, sometimes more, but usually between a year and 6 months. I also love last minute bookings too. Those are fun surprises. But yeah, now we work a lot more with wedding planners, so we're not working as much with clients, but we try to get design boards and kind of have a vision of where we want. We do location scouting if we can ahead of time. We travel quite a bit for work, so we don't always get to do like we don't always know the location, so we
Yeah.
always make a chance or make a point to go there ahead of time to see the spots and look at the light and see where we want to go and stuff like that.
But it's crazy how much time goes into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then a lot of post-production too, so afterwards. I'm a crazy perfectionist. I think you guys know that from
we know.
working with me, and I do a lot of retouching to make sure that every image is perfect, and that's sort of unnecessary. I mean, it's not unnecessary, but like a lot of other photographers don't do that, especially in weddings, and I know people that can produce finish all their editing in less than a day, and I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do
How
it.
long does it take you? How many pictures do you usually deliver of such a day? I mean, you must take so many pictures. And
Yeah, usually we like around 800 more, sometimes 1,000. It depends on, so many of our weddings are like extra events or rehearsal dinner, and so it's always different. Everything is different. I hate putting a number on it because I never really think about that. I just deliver what tells the story and what images are the best images.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the retouching too. I want to make sure that our clients, like, every image is frame worthy or can go in their album and not
Each picture tells the story.
Yeah,
of it.
and is like a finished image. Not we're not delivering anything that is like, oh well, look at that, or there's things people want to remove or whatever. It's a finished product.
so you, when you came to Germany, because you just talked about retouching, that was kind of your gig, your first gig in Germany, wasn't it? Or like to do a lot of retouching?
Yeah, and I love retouching. Well, that's what I had done. I had worked as a photo editor before that, for like before I went to Paris, after I went to Paris. I moved to San Francisco, and then that's the job that actually brought me to Germany. I moved a lot after college. And so, yeah, I had spent all day doing retouching and editing and stuff, and I enjoy it. So, yeah, definitely.
And when because now you, just to give you this information, you have now moved back to California, but you have this comparison about working and living in Berlin versus California. How would you describe the differences? How would you describe your life in Berlin versus your life now?
So many questions in one.
I mean, the the places are very different. Yeah. I definitely miss Berlin. I was telling you that every time we come back, I feel homesick. And I hope we can live here again. I would love to. It's just such a dynamic city, and I've always really, really loved Berlin. From the first time I came here, I think I came here in 2007. When I lived in Paris, I came here for a weekend. It was freezing cold. I'm pretty sure it was February. But I just fell in love with the city. And at that time, I mean, that was 12 years ago.
It was still rough, yeah.
It was very
Nothing
rough.
compared to now.
But I loved it. I can't even describe it. I don't know. It was so cool. And the friend who came with me, her family had a flat here, so I got to see like the locals' perspective too. It was really fun. Anyway, that's not to answer your question. You know me, I like to go on tangents, so we're trying to stay focused here. But yeah, I mean, Berlin, the cost of living is definitely a factor, but Berlin has gotten a lot more expensive too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
the weather is better.
The weather is a million times better. I definitely do not miss Berlin winters in the slightest. I would get really depressed in February. I don't know why I never bought those like happy lights or whatever, the sad lamps. Are they called sad, not seasonal affective disorder? Because I had it really bad. And Berlin winters, like, you guys know this. I just remember walking down the street and everyone is scowling, and we'll just run into you on the sidewalk, and everyone's miserable, and then you're miserable, and so that is not the case in California. We don't really have a winter. I call it eternal spring. And that really helps my mood. I won't lie. But working in both places, I mean, when I lived in Berlin, I traveled almost every weekend for work, because this is not really, I didn't really work here that much. I worked all around. So it's nice that now I can drive or like not have to travel.
Yeah, and get home in the evening. Probably.
Yeah, and we live close to the beach.
Yeah.
You know, we have an external office, so we go to work. This has been really important. I had an office in Berlin for a while, but then I worked from home, and I realized I don't like that. So, being able to leave my desk, I mean, you guys know that because you used to work from home in the very beginning of sisterMAG too. I remember that. Yeah. Being able to close your door and walk away is really important. So. And also, I've just grown up, so like having kind of boundaries is important in life. But yeah, I mean, Berlin's scrappy. Like people here work and you do a million different things, and it's that attitude is different. Whereas in California, I don't know, it's definitely a go-getter. People work really hard there too. So because you have to.
You need the money.
Yeah, it's expensive. But yeah, I mean, we miss it here. I miss city life for sure. But we travel a lot, so it's fine. We just need to come back here more.
And how was it to kind of restart your life in California? Was it like just like dropping in again and being there, or was it really like being new?
Well, we moved back to the town that I grew up in. I moved there when I was 5, and we got back there originally and thought, okay, we're definitely going to move to LA or San Francisco, and somehow we just never did, and we stayed. And I think it's because the town that I'm from is a really amazing place. It's north of Santa Barbara, called San Luis Obispo. It was voted the happiest city in America like a while ago, but that's still our claim to fame. But it really is like a really happy place. People, there's so much nature. You go hiking, you're close to the beach. I mean, it's incredible. And so coming back there, I don't know, we just kind of decided to stay. I don't even know if we actually made that decision, like sat down and talked about it. I think we were just like, yeah, I think we're going to stay. And I thought, because I had grown up there, I was just like, don't worry, Andreas, like, I've got this, you know, we can find a place to live, that's going to be so easy. I've lived in Berlin, I've gone to viewings with 60 people, and we've gotten apartments, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just was like, don't worry, I got this. No, it was impossible to find a place to live, like, it was a transition, and I expected it to be really easy. But it's all worked out. It's taken us some time to get settled and everything, and we bought a house last year, but we're happy, and it's good. And like being able to travel, we still travel quite a bit, and being able to come back here is amazing. We need to come like at least once a year. We skipped last year, and we're only here for 3 days this time, so that's not enough. But yeah, I mean, starting over a business was a challenge.
I can imagine.
But it's all worked out, and I'm really thankful for that. And now, you know, we're continuing to grow. But, yeah, moving your business.
It's never easy.
Yeah, also with a German last name is...
Yeah.
We joke about maybe we should have taken some letters out when we moved to America, but because no one knows how to say it, and they're like, Ludaescher, Lulu, and I'm like, okay, pretend the E and the C aren't there. So Ludaescher. And it's like,
Okay,
easy.
fine.
Yeah, but now it's a little late, I think.
Yeah. Now it's a trademark kind of like.
I love seeing, like, sometimes you can see how people spell your name to Google you. It's fine. People spell it wrong all the time.
And so now Californian weddings, what is that like?
Well, we have much better weather in California, so we don't have to have rain plans. But working here in Germany really taught me a lot about being flexible, finding light when there isn't any, in dark holes of rooms, or like dark churches or barns, or very cloudy days, which tend to happen a lot. So that's great. But yeah, California is amazing. We have beautiful, where we live, it's wine country, and it's really lovely. I think the weddings there still we're always like a few years maybe ahead of trends.
Yeah, I think so too.
But yeah, I mean, there's some really amazing weddings, and people really invest in their weddings, which people here do too, for sure. And yeah, it's fun to see what people come up with.
What are kind of current trends, what you would say? I mean, I know in the past you had like boho style or...
Pampas grass.
Pampas grass is definitely last year, but people are still going for it. I mean, I like pampas grass. I have a florist friend that hates it because it gets everywhere in her studio, and she finds it's like glitter, you know, you can't get rid of it. This year I'm really excited because I think color's coming back, which will be really fun.
Yeah.
And or like all white, all white is really cool. Dried like grasses for flowers, like in bouquets and stuff, using not grass necessarily, but like dried elements, dried flowers or ferns or all kinds of cool stuff is coming back, which I think is really fun because it adds a lot of texture and color, hopefully.
Yeah, makes good photos.
Yes, and like my work isn't like super bright anyway, but just having something different, you know, I want people to take risks, like fashion risks, and, you know, doing something different for your wedding is always really fun, and it should be personal.
Yeah, it shouldn't be like the one from like the Pinterest board that has been done 3,000 times.
Exactly.
Before.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, I know it's hard. I mean, when I was getting married, I had
Pinterest boards.
I definitely had a Pinterest board, and I had burlap on the table, which is like so illegal now. It was sage colored. It wasn't brown. So I thought I was like very progressive at that time, but I was also, that was before Pinterest.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was like the very beginning of Pinterest.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. I think I did have a Pinterest board, but like, I mean, now things have changed so much, and we're inundated with content all the time on Instagram and everything. So I think it's probably really overwhelming, but color would be really exciting and hoping to see more. And taking risks. I want some fashion risks, and I think people are like starting to bring it and not just go towards a classic dress, you know.
Yeah. And what was the craziest wedding you've ever photographed?
I'm like, should I have prepared for this?
And we made you answer this just on the spot.
I know, on the spot. Well, the wedding, we had a wedding at the Four Seasons in Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat, where we were last weekend, a couple years ago, where they had synchronized swimmers and a violin in a bubble, and that was like amazing, and all the guests didn't know about it except for us. We knew about it, so we were prepared, but it was amazing, and everyone's jaw just dropped, and that was really fun. I mean, with weddings, like, there's always stuff that goes wrong, or like funny things, but most of it is just trying to like make it the best day ever, regardless of anything that happens. So, you know, but that was like really spectacular and really fun.
But what are things that you have seen gone wrong on a wedding day, where you were like, oh shit, that has happened now?
Even my wedding this weekend, she had a whole dress remade in like 3 days because she decided she didn't like the dress, and she looked so beautiful, and she's so lucky that was able to happen.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. But also, like, what if you hated your dress? I was so thankful that she did that, because like, that's the worst, you know, if you wear something that you don't feel good in, or you don't like, then you look back at your photos and you hate all your photos because you don't like your dress. That's terrible. So that was that's pretty crazy. We've definitely had like rain, crazy things. One time it started raining the second the bride walked down the aisle, which was like, oh my goodness. And it had been sunny right before that, obviously. That was in Berlin. But that's pretty bananas. If I think of something else, I'll say it.
And I mean, you have so much accomplished. We heard now really amazing stories, and also that you kind of restarted your careers many times. Are there things you see in the future that you want to achieve, or a dream that you still have?
Now that Martha Stewart has posted pictures of you, which was always, we have to say that this was kind of a dream of Ashley and and we would always look at Martha Stewart things. We were like, oh, that's amazing. And
I mean, Martha Stewart, as a human, has been someone I've idolized since I was super young. Like, before that's cool.
That was one thing we really bonded over, Ashley and me, at our first meeting.
I love Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Well, yes, getting published in Martha Stewart Weddings was a huge deal, or a huge goal for me. I mean, obviously, they have a print magazine now. They've only gone down to 1 issue. We've been online several times, which is like really exciting. And I mean, I'd love to be in that print issue. But yeah, getting published on that was a big goal. And I actually wrote the editor last year, and she left the company, and I wrote her, thank you. You know, that was a huge goal of mine. She's like, time to get a new goal. Like, oh my gosh, yes, I did achieve that goal. Yeah. Yes, that's true. We're just focusing now on expanding where we work in the U.S. Because when we moved, we were really focusing on targeting certain areas that we really wanted to work in. And now that we've been able to grow and kind of take work where we want to work. We're just continuing that, and really just, we're always trying to evolve and offer our clients the best that we can give. So that's really important. And just, I don't know, continuing to grow as a person and also as a business, I think is really important, and challenging ourselves. I really want to do some personal work that's a little more fashion based.
Back to the roots.
Yes, so back to where I started, and kind of combine my love of fashion and weddings and kind of mix that into it. So
Sounds good.
stay tuned.
I think we should come to the last question, but this is what Tony has
As it's like the overall theme of the podcast.
Oh.
It's called sisterMAG Radio, but with the subtitle "Careers of the Now." So we show how people nowadays kind of have different careers, how they evolve, and how it's not like in the past, like one straight line, or you started with a company and at 65 you gone out and
So German.
yeah. True. But it's much more kind of about, as you just described, evolving as a person and to develop yourself where you want to go. And so my last question for all my people in the podcast is, how do you feel now about, are you in balance with yourself, with how your life has progressed? Are there stuff or passions you want to progress in the future, and how in general you see the notion of work-life balance?
Ooh, that is a really good question. That is something I've really been working on, and I think moving helped that. And having an external office is something that I think is very important. And Andreas doesn't always understand that because he doesn't care. He's happy working from home, but I worked from home for 5 years when I lived in Berlin, and another year when we moved to California, and I need that separation. I need to get dressed in real clothes every day and put on lipstick and do my hair and leave my house and come home. And that has really helped balance for sure. And I think that will continue to help.
Yeah.
It helps me focus too when I'm going to the office. It's a workplace, so I'm not sitting there. When I work from home, I do.
Doodle on social media.
Well,
all the time.
I might still fall down the rabbit hole from time to time. You're like, how long have I been on Instagram? Which I tried to turn on the timers.
Yeah. Oh, did you do that?
Yeah, it does it. It's so annoying because
Yeah.
I turned it to 15 minutes a day for Instagram.
That's not much.
Not enough.
I would pass it in the morning, and then all day long you're clicking ignore, and it kind of makes you feel worse. But balance has really been something important to me, especially last year and this year, really trying to become a really healthy person. I work out almost every morning.
Wow.
Really early. I get up at 5 and then go take a class, and then I'm ready to start my day, and that really helps me focus.
Do you do that at home, or do you go to a gym?
I go to a studio. I take mostly bar classes, which is amazing. I go to a hot bar studio, so you sweat a lot, and which is disgusting, but and yoga, hot yoga, and that is amazing. Sometimes in Pilates too, and it's mostly for my mental health and just feeling better, and it also helps when we work 12-hour days to feel fine, and I don't feel bad the next day. And a lot of photographers complain about feeling terrible after you work a whole day on your feet and you're running, and I typically feel fine the next day. So I think that's really important. So strong body, strong mind, and just kind of self-care is really important. So if I need a day off, I will take the day off, and I think that's really important.
Sounds good.
I'm trying to focus on other hobbies now too. I've gotten into ceramics again, which I did in high school, and have been going to the ceramic studio. So that's fun to kind of do something totally different that's creative and go play.
And not about earning money with it.
Yeah.
Just enjoying.
Yeah, I'm really into making little dishes lately, and then I gift them to people, and they're excited. So
Nice.
little things. I don't know. I think it's really important, and it's hard, especially when you own your own business, and you guys know that.
Yeah, you can work all the time.
Which someone here may have used to do.
But she is getting better.
I know, you go on
No
vacation.
pointing fingers.
It was a quiet finger. No one on the podcast would know.
No, exactly.
She's
I'm sorry to
doing
call you out. I know you
holidays.
went on you go on vacations now.
I know, it's something new.
I'm very proud of both of you. And I'm proud of you for taking vacations, but I'm also so proud of both of you for everything that you've accomplished. And this is
don't make us
no,
blush.
seriously, it's amazing. And now watching from afar, that I'm not here seeing it all the time, like I'm so proud. And
since you don't know the chaos behind it, it looks
I mean, it looks amazing. But you guys have done so much, and from watching your very humble beginnings of our photo shoots, I mean, we always had professional makeup artists.
totally
We always did.
more or less professional. I remember some weirder ones
I mean, we did have a
in
lot
the
of
forest.
my most favorite photo shoots, I think, were in Freiberg always.
Yes.
Where we took over the ice skating rink and
Oh.
then were published in the newspaper, right? That was...
The international
amazing.
team coming to Saxony.
And I also had to wear one of your jeans because it was really cold. And your mom came out and laughed at me.
I know, because you were in a skirt or something. It was like
And it was
minus
minus
10. And my mom was like, "You're not going out there with that. I'm getting you trousers from Tony." And they were like, even then,
They
too
were
long,
really high
and long.
They
and
just did not fit me. We clearly have very different body types.
I love how like both Tony and my mom were looking at you and like laughing at you. I'm like, that's not very polite.
I wasn't with you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, it was just your mom.
Yeah, it was.
But it was okay. But I did not freeze that day. It was like not. I think it was 5 in Berlin, and then we
Yeah.
got to Freiberg, and it was so
Yeah.
cold.
It's always like
Yeah.
But
We
that
did
was
a lot
always
of
fun.
weird things.
When we drove into the fields with your mother as a model.
yeah.
And she was like, "I own this town. This can be our field." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, I remember that. That were with coats. Yeah, we were also in Freiberg. Yeah, true. And then when we did that Christmas cover with the dress, that was
With a tree?
just a tree.
Yeah.
And she was standing on these like 10 centimeters high heels on the wood, and she couldn't move, and you were like, "Yes, step aside." She's like, "I can't.
God,
I
there
can
is no
only
wood."
stand here." So it was. We did a lot of fun things. We will link to some in our podcast comments. So
you will see
you
all
can-
the covers. It's a good reason to go down memory lane.
Oh my gosh! And I cannot believe. Right, this was 47.
Yeah, we are now at 48, and so in 2 issues it will be
50.
system
I
50.
cannot believe that you've come out with 50.
I can't
That's so
believe
much content because you guys are creative geniuses too. So
That is
I'm
too nice.
thrilled that I've gotten to be a part of a little bit of your history.
And hopefully future. So
Yay.
California issue we come.
Oh,
California,
I will help. I'll be your travel agent if you need that.
Nice.
I'll just book your tickets and be like,
Maybe
"Don't worry,
also
guys."
photographer. So
Yeah.
I'll play all the roles, whatever you need me to do, just to get you guys there.
thank you so much for
Yeah.
today being in Berlin and talking to us. It was a very fun trip down memory lane
And in the future.
in the future. We can only tell you guys to look at Ashley's work, look at her Instagram, look at her webpage, because I'm always in awe of her pictures, of her color palettes, and I just love seeing you from afar. And so we can only recommend Ashley's work to you, and are very happy that you talked to us today.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much.
I'm so glad to get to spend time with you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to sisterMAG Radio podcast. It was a delight having you. If you liked our podcast, please subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Spotify. Also, a rating or a comment or just a share on any social media network helps to get the word out. Thank you.